Your squad selection for the under-21s is imminent. Can we expect many new faces, any changes?
Yeah, there's going to be some changes. We felt as though we've come to this stage of the season where, we're going into 2 friendlies now to finish the season. The squad have done particularly well. I think 1 or 2 players that have been patient around the squad need to play some football. And 1 or 2 players that are playing regularly for their club and played regularly for the 21s this year probably need a little bit of a break and be left at their clubs.
And you've got feet in both camps, obviously. How does it work with you when you see players like Gabriel Agbonlahor and Mika Richards graduating to the senior level? Does that frustrate you as being under-21 manager, or are you glad to see them progress?
I think it's a mixture of both, really. I think the relationship between the under-21 manager and the seniors is absolutely crucial for the development of players. I look at the Italians who have just won the World Cup and the holders at the moment, and I think 7 of their players have won under-21 tournaments. The likes of Pirlo have got an extreme amount of experience at under-21 level before being elevated. I also think it's important that you might well play for the under-21s, you might well go into the senior squad, but you might well come back and play for the under-21s in a major tournament or some of the qualifiers leading up to that. I don't think it's a one-way door that you go through and never ever come back. I think for the sake of the players, their experience, and the fact of, as I say, there's got to be more of a long-term plan. Otherwise you'll go through that door, you might lose form, not play for the seniors and never be looked at for selection again. I think that's absolute folly.
And you've seen some of your players that you worked with at Manchester City progress this season. I'm talking particularly about Joe Hart, and Nedum Onur scored his first goal for City yesterday. How pleased that they've seemed to have progressed so quickly?
I think with Onur, I don't think the progression has been very quick, personally. I think, he's been around the first team for maybe at least 3 years now, on and off. Injuries have limited some of his appearances. I think Joe certainly has come on the scene, done extremely well. We expected him to push the senior goalkeeper, whoever it may be, at the start of the season this year. The fact that he's got in, the fact that he's stayed in, is a massive plus. Come the end of the season, Joe will look back and I think he's nailed the place down for himself now. I think he's got a great future. But as I said with Theo, it's important that these players get time to mature and we don't balloon them up as being the next best thing and write them off as soon as they make one mistake.
And you're working now with Capello. You've been with him for a few weeks. What advice would you say has he given you? What's the best piece of advice so far?
Well, I wouldn't say he's given me any piece of advice. He's just tried to incorporate me within his backroom staff. He's been very open, in certainly when I've been around the squad, and I think time will tell on that respect. He's been very supportive of the under-21s. Our first meeting in respect to squad selection, he was very positive about trying to leave players with me because I had a qualifier, and that sort of backup is vital for me, to make sure that players like the likes of Aaron knows full well that part of his development might be to drop down playing the under-21s to push on to get into the seniors again, and that's important that I know that, and more importantly the players know that.
And just finally, I'd like to know, you've obviously cast your eye over a lot of football, and are there any kind of hidden gems that we haven't yet seen who might be coming up? Perhaps Freddie Sears, who scored on the weekend for West Ham. Any tips for the future, and what would your message be to them?
I think, probably when looking back now, last summer, when I felt as though I've got a squad of under-21 players, I felt as though I had maybe 18, 19 players to pick from. Now all of a sudden that number's nearer 30. The likes of Jamie O'Hara has done extremely well on loan, out, and then coming back to Tottenham. And there's various players that have really, David Wheater has played the odd game, but this season he's been nailed on at Middlesbrough and had a fantastic season. Players arrive on the scene very quickly. This time last year, not too many were talking about Mark Noble. Now all of a sudden, Mark helped keep West Ham up last year, and all of a sudden he's nailed himself down a place in the West Ham midfield. So the players have got the opportunity nowadays. I think people talk about a closed shop, if you like, but I don't think it's like that. I think if managers see young talent out there, they'll give it the opportunity. And as I say, you mentioned the boy Sears at the weekend. Fine, that's good. It's important that we don't lord him up to a ridiculous level, and it's important that when young players do get the opportunity to play a game, they probably switch off to any media exposure that they do get that's lauding them up to a ridiculous amount. And I think that happens too much, probably.
So you would say you're confident going into the upcoming Euros that we could maybe take that next step?
Well, I think it's important that from my point of view, that I get some form of success at under-21 level. As I said before, the Italians have, 6 or 7 of their players have won under-21 championships and gone on and won World Cups. Now, that for me is a progression. That's how it should be done. Now, if I can get that form of success at under-21 level, got to a semi-final last summer, enjoyed our experience. We hope to do the same again and go further than we did last time, if possible.